Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Killjoy channel. Hope you guys are all enjoying your day today, as I do want to talk about a somewhat annoying topic, I guess is what I could say. Now, in my opinion, pretty much everyone's opinion, realistically, it's pretty much universal that Conqueror is one of the more overpowered in the game because of his bash. But I want to talk about why he's so salt-inducing on top of why he's overpowered. And I wanted to hopefully maybe just shed some light on the situation, especially for newer players who really don't understand why the character is so powerful, I guess is the best way I can put it. So, to start off with, we're going to go ahead and start with the salt portion of things, on why the character himself is one of the more powerful characters on the roster, and in some cases the most powerful character on the roster. We'll start off by talking about his front forward shield bash. When dodging forward anyway, his shield bash comes out almost instantly to the point that he has absolutely nothing to worry about. The punishment that you can do to the attack is very minimal unless you manage to outpredict it, which you can get a free guard break if you dodge before the actual cue of the unblockable coming in. But excluding that, the attack is nearly unpunishable. It does very minimal damage at, I believe, 15. But still, you can get bashed to death with the unblockable leading into it, especially if you run out of stamina against a Conqueror. A lot of people consider this to be a death sentence, and it's really extremely hard to come back from. On top of the front forward shield bash being able to literally be spammed into oblivion because it's one of the quickest openers to ever come out in this entire game, he can also do this from any dodge, which means that if he is trying to turtle, he can literally just dodge any attack you throw and hit you with that same shield bash and chip you away little by little to death. Now, Conqueror is, in fact, one of the best killing machines, as well as one of the best defensive machines in this entire game, for a couple of reasons. One, heavies are supposed to be, very tanky, very hard-hitting characters, but it seems that they decided to kind of get hard-hitting and quick mixed up when doing Conqueror. First off, if you are not decent at blocking lights, Conqueror's light chain is next to impossible to deal with, especially if you're playing an assassin character, and it can be really, really infuriating and frustrating. That's what makes him such a good offensive killing machine as well as defensive. He can light attack you out of a lot of things because his light attacks are fairly quick. He doesn't have the ability to cancel his lights quite like Nabushi does, but they still do come out fairly quickly, and that can cause a lot of issues at lower tier play. At high tier play, when that's where most of the turtles really come in, that's where Conqueror comes in quite a bit. You can look at Conqueror's kit with not only his dodge bash from any direction other than dodging backwards, but he also has a few other things in his kit that let him be an absolute, this overall great turtle. When you see a Conqueror, he can abuse quite a few things in the turtle meta, especially whenever he first was reworked. You can go and see his zone attack, which is the best thing for what's called option selecting. Option select is whenever you see the ability that you have to parry something, but instead of risking them feinting it, you do a zone attack instead. That way if they feint it and go for a guard break, your zone attack will instead land of them getting the guard break in case you're not able to feint your attack in time. Now, there are a couple of characters that this really doesn't really account for. For example, Gladiator and Centurion, they can't really be baited into throwing a heavy and get a free guard break off of them because their heavies come out too quickly. Conqueror is one of them, somewhat. Conqueror is extremely hard to guard break out of his heavy attacks, but even then his zone attack gives you full guard from all sides, as well as one of the quicker lights in the game, about as fast as his normal light attacks. So if you're having trouble, parrying or even going as dodging his light attacks, chances are his zone attack is going to hit you extremely frequently if you're constantly trying to throw attacks at him. Now, his full guard was nerfed a little bit a while back in the speed that it does come up, but his full guard is one of the things that a lot of people are really on the edge about. If you look at his full guard compared to a lot of other characters such as Valkyrie and even Warlord, the main thing that makes his full guard stick out is that his full guard lands an unblockable attack, the flail uppercut, that does a little bit more damage than a normal heavy attack would. Now this doesn't matter what attack you hit him with, so long as it's not an unblockable, and he can just come up with his flail uppercut out of nowhere. Whether it be something as simple as a zone attack, a heavy or a light attack, or anything that goes into anything really, he's going to hit you with this flail uppercut, and it's going to cause you a lot of damage and a lot of punishment. Now, most people will also know that Conqueror can also chain his heavies into light in any order that he wants to, and this makes Conqueror very tricky to deal with, somewhat like Aramusha, once again if you're playing an assassin character or you have bad reaction time such as me. When fighting a character like Conqueror, you have to be very preemptive on how you attack him, because you never know what a good Conqueror can do. He can always dodge shield bash, he can always go into full guard and catch you off guard, and he can even just option select your attacks for his zone attack instead. Now, this is something that you see a lot. Whenever you see a Conqueror and he's option selecting, this extremely limits the ability of what you're going to have to fight him. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, he can't be guard broken out of his zone attack, and he can only be guard broken after his zone attack if he does both attacks. His zone attack can be cancelled after the first attack, which wastes a little bit more stamina, but after his second one he can be guard broken if you're close enough and if he misses it. That's the only sort of punishment he has on his zone attack. Once again, his forward shield bash can't really be punished much unless you preemptively dodge it, and his forward shield bash can also lead up to a 50-50. As you can see in a lot of the fights here, you'll see me dodge forward randomly just to see if I can get my opponent to dodge, which will get me a free guard break. Also, a Conqueror that guard breaks quite a bit is extremely terrifying in the fact that, one, his heavy attacks do quite a bit of damage as every other character in the game, but he can get a top heavy off of a wall splat, which can be a little bit more than most other characters offer with their normal heavy attacks. Now, most characters can get a very powerful heavy or the most powerful variant of their heavy on a wall splat, which makes most people either want to camp near walls if they're a character who can only get a light attack off of a guard break, such as Highlander, or if they can get a very powerful heavy on a guard break near a wall, such as Highlander again. Highlander is really limited in his kit versus Conqueror, but Highlander always has the offensive stance and his 50-50 kick and a caber toss to help him deal with Conqueror, and a lot of characters can deal with Conqueror fairly efficiently for the most part, but characters without an opener are really going to suffer a lot against Conqueror, and even characters with an opener are going to suffer against Conqueror because he can simply dodge, shield bash you, and get that free chipped light attack. Without the ability of revenge in 1v1s, I feel like this is where he dominantly stands out, mostly because, well, once again, there's no revenge. When in modes like Brawls or 4s, you'll oftentimes see Conqueror will literally just feed revenge, and that's why you won't see them rely on the shield bash near as much in 4v4s or 2v2 game modes, and that's why you'll see them turtle often more not. And the reason why is because, if a Conqueror is sitting there constantly feeding revenge by shield bashing over and over, all he's going to end up doing is getting himself killed or his teammates killed, as well as, empowering the enemy team. When you have issues like that, or circumstances where Conqueror is more limited than most, that's where he pretty much begins to decline. Now, once again, he is still a very, very good character in all of those game modes because of his ability to turtle. Like I said a little while ago, his zone attack and his option selects for his zone attacks are amongst the best in the game. The best, in my opinion. I can't think of anyone else who can really outshine him in his option select or his zone attack period. And then when you take a look at his full guard, especially with some of the perks he has, such as heal on block, he can absolutely just dominate the battlefield. One feat that Conqueror has that can really destroy an opponent and not give them revenge is Shield Basher. Now this is a Conqueror exclusive feat that makes him overall flawless as an attacker and a defender in 4v4 game modes. I've seen a lot of people complain about how Conqueror is so powerful, and I can't blame them for the complaining. But when you see a perk such as Shield Basher, this was very very decent to turn him from a pure defensive tank like he was in Season 1 before his rework into what he is today. Now, what he is now versus Season 1, 2, and before his rework, he was a fairly well-balanced character, but he was one with a turtle meta, and if you played back then, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He was basically a full guard champion, and he didn't have any options other than the turtle, which I felt was, very strange for what they had planned for the most part. But now in the meta, he's currently where he shines. With Shield Basher on his side in 4v4 game modes, as well as Heal on Block and multiple other feats that overall just make him extremely powerful, there's no stopping him. Now, this can be said the same for other characters such as Berserker. If you put the right feats on Berserker, even without feats, he can also be a non-stop killing machine and not have any problems whatsoever dominating the battlefield. But Conqueror in duels, I feel, is the most salt-inducing character because of his ability to spam without punishment, and his ability to constantly punish in the hands of a good player. In the hands of a good player, spam isn't, extraordinarily needed, but any good player will know that if there's a method that is working, you may as well keep doing it. If this includes dodging your opponent's attacks, shield bashing, and light attacks, most people will do that, and there's a couple of reasons for it. One is because, obviously, if you have a win condition, you're going to want to take it. There's no reason not to take a win condition, and a lot of players don't feel that way. Now, amongst the honor community, a lot of people feel it's, quote-unquote dishonorable to spam shield bashes over and over, especially when someone's out of stamina, and things of that nature. Well, as someone who was once a part of that community, I can definitely see where they're coming from, but this isn't going to stop anyone anywhere at all from doing this. Just because someone thinks it shouldn't be done doesn't mean it won't be done. I guess the best way I could put it is that the reason Conqueror is so salt-inducing is because he basically can't be punished for anything he does pretty much ever, unless you can outpredict your opponent. And if your opponent is just buck wild crazy, then good luck outpredicting him when he can't even outpredict himself. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did, like, comment, subscribe. I love you guys, and have a good one. Peace.